Um, so no need to tell you why I'm here to talk about it. What I'm here to talk about. What I'd like to do is actually focus a bit more on the strategy side of things and give you some of my ideas around that principle in community engagement. I would like to start by saying we continually struggle with family and community engagement in schools, and we basically don't know how to do it. That would be my main belief. We don't know how to do it. The evidence is lots of stories about how it's happened successfully, and there's not much evidence which says here's a tried and tested way to do it. It's a bit like school networks the same way. The evidence is full of great stories of when it's happened well and grown organically. We don't know great ways that are systematically part of our systems, and we know even less from a public policy perspective. That's my world, and we know even less from a policy perspective about how to get family and community engagements working well. So with that cheerful start, but what we do at the same time is have a policy context in Australia at the moment that is emphasising family and community engagement like it never has before. And that's for one central reason, and that is the big school autonomy push we have in this country. A subscale of that, and often conflated with it, is the notion of school competition. Basically, school competition is a driver of performance, and the driver comes from parents choosing the school that they believe best fits their needs. I'm not a convert or an advocate for that belief, but that belief does exist amongst many, and that relies on the power of the family making that decision and the family's guiding school improvement. This presents incredible opportunities, and both issues do. The lack of systematic evidence of how to get good family and community engagements, coupled with the focus of policy on the importance of family and community engagement in driving performance, creates incredible opportunities for movement in this space. And there'll be movement everywhere. What I see around the country is movement everywhere. Good, bad, indifferent, and all over the shop. And I'll talk a little bit, you'll be talking all day about this, but I'll give you a few examples. What I would like to focus on today is the school improvement agenda, and to talk a little bit about that and how family and community engagement fits into that. And that will highlight some of the issues around both lack of research and where we are and how we got there. A little bit about Learning First. As I said, normally it was nice of Adam to remember I'm no longer with Grafton, so thank you for that. But Learning First is a new enterprise, new social enterprise that myself and a few others have established. A couple of us came from Grafton to start it up, and a few others have joined along the way. We will do some of the things that had similarities to what we did at Grafton, but a bit more in the education and training space and a bit more in the straight-out consulting space as well. We are not formally launched yet, that will happen later. Okay, onto the agenda. This is a report on a study we did last year when we were at Grafton that looked around turnaround schools. And what this does is highlight the holes in the data, the holes in the evidence around family and community engagement. And what we did was we basically looked at all the evidence, summarised what the evidence says about turnaround schools and what is required, what occurs in successful turnaround schools. And we did half a dozen case studies of schools around Australia. And we came up with these 5 criteria that are common basically amongst school turnaround in Australia, and the evidence, which is largely US and UK centric, and we also compared this to what's happening in Asia as well, at least some parts of Asia, particularly in China, who are following the same sort of methods. Okay? Engagement of parents and community is the 5th essential step, and that is combined with the first one around school leadership that raises expectations. And what we had there, what we saw there, is really a strong engagement with the community, and through that the objective was to A, get a greater involvement in school life, but B, also to raise expectations. Now, we all know that that is part of the turnaround school story. Okay? Schools in low SES areas, normally low performance, if you want to turn that around, one of the first things you do is raise expectations. Our students can perform, and doing that across the school with everyone involved, from teachers, parents, the kids themselves, everyone involved. As an aside, this I think is one of the biggest issues that we have in Australia. We continually emphasise the need to raise expectations in low performing schools. We continually fail to do it in our middle and high performance schools. We all know the international results, which has Australia as one of 4 OECD countries actually going backwards on PISA. Okay? A 15-year-old now performs at a level that is lower than a 15-year-old in 2000 in some subject areas. Okay? And we normally talk about what that means in poor communities and low SES schools. But the big drop, what explains that drop, is what happens in middle income and high income schools. The amount of our students who are in those top categories around the world have fallen dramatically. And when we talk about expectations, we never talk about them. We talk about kids from poor areas. And when we talk about schools in poor areas, we talk about the need to engage families to help them raise their expectations. My argument has always been to schools around Australia, middle and high income, or any income, is that raising expectations is needed. Often that is more recognised in schools that are in poor community because it's obvious to them what happens if they don't. If they don't raise expectations, these kids have very, very negative outcomes. It is a lot harder in middle income and wealthier neighbourhoods because those kids will probably end up being okay, whatever that means. I would argue that parent and family groups have a huge role in raising expectations in middle and high income groups, and that there is a great space and opportunity in this country at the moment for someone to step into that space and say this is what we should do. Because at the moment it's people like me or the Business Council, etc., and we don't have enough sway. But there is a need for it, because when I go and speak to any of the elite private schools, they are not buying into this message. They do not believe it's on their radar. And part of that's because they believe their parents are not asking for it. They believe their parents are asking for greater student support around student welfare, for greater extracurricular activities and these sorts of things. I don't believe that they're wrong in saying that parents want that, but I do believe they're wrong in saying parents don't want higher achievement for their kids. And it's getting that balance. Because of the middle and high income, I would argue that we've got the balance too far away from the academics. And our results are all bearing that out. So anyway, this was part of the turnaround strategy. And this evidence is all stories. Okay? The evidence is not where we found a tried and trusted method, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, but the evidence is around qualitative stories of school improvement. In some countries they have taken these steps and shaped policy around it, and it has been effective, but again the evidence is really yet to come in. In terms of what number 5 means, and I will just go on to say it is number 5 unfortunately around the country. If you look at the principal standards, the standards for school leadership, this is included in here. Trust me, it is unfortunate to say that it is often included in as the last point, and not by accident. To be totally blunt, in my belief, it is always the add-on. If we can get it done, yeah, we should engage with the family and parents. Okay? To reverse that's not easy, and I think it is about picking some battles where you can say, let's hop in and lead the debate in this area. And I'll talk a bit about the school improvement strategy after that, because I think that might provide some opportunities. Where the engagement of parents and community, where the evidence is strongest is in your turnaround school space. That's why I've raised it here. Okay? This is where it's shown to have the greatest impact. That is partly a result of the sort of evidence we do in education, where we focus much more on how to turn around a school that is low performing rather than to improve a school that is already middle or high performing. Okay, that's the nature of education research, unfortunately. And just some of the very, very basic things which schools do. Okay? The amount of times I'll hear parents say that this new school principal is wonderful, they actually come in the mornings and they come and say hello to me. From the very, very basic to some actually quite complex joint learning activities. Okay, the most famous of these are in your migrant communities, where you see schools who are basically holding joint lessons with parents and students, particularly around English language. But it does go into other subject areas. A lot of close connection with parents around joint commitment to child learning. Now, that is very much a focusing turnaround, but it could easily be applied to middle and high income. And the growing push to have schools combined with other family community services. You all know this. The notion that instead of having a school located here and you go there for your health, welfare providers, the notion of having them together. I'd like to raise this, the issue of home visits. I know some schools that do this, and it's been incredibly successful. Normally a home visit occurs when the child's done something wrong and you get a parent or you get a teacher or a school principal, the vice principal at the door. Okay? I know many schools that engage in home visits to try and create a shared commitment to a child's learning. Now, most government requirements now prevent this from happening. I know some government schools will keep doing it regardless. However, this is something that I keep on telling non-gov schools and government schools who don't mind breaking the rules is perhaps the best marketing they can do. As some of you who have seen our work, we've done a lot of work in systems throughout Asia. Okay? The homeroom teacher in Shanghai visits their child's home at least once or twice every year. Okay? That's part of their job. What I'm trying to tell school leaders who are fighting for places, imagine imagine at someone's dinner party on Friday or Saturday night, what did you do this week, etc., etc. Oh, we had a visit from our teacher this week. Many parents, as we know, are not thrilled with the quality of some aspects of their school. The idea that they would get a teacher coming to their home to discuss their child's well-being with them is perhaps some of the best marketing that could ever occur for that school. Starting to demand that might help. If you start to create that as an expectation whereby we expect the school to come to us as well as us going to the school, will strengthen relationships, has been shown to work elsewhere, has been shown to work in poor neighbourhoods, and whichever school starts to do it, they will get, in my opinion, they will get parents lining up at the door as long as the rest of it's not okay. So these are sort of some of the engagement activities. You know all of these and you know most of these. So what I'd like to do now, just to quickly, in the few minutes we've got left, is to jump that in to what do we mean by school improvement and a school improvement strategy, because really that's what I've been asked to talk about, family and community engagement in a school improvement strategy. Okay? And I'll start by saying that I believe we do strategy really, really badly in education. Okay? Part of that is because of what we consider to be an evidence-based approach. And what we consider to be an evidence-based approach is to say, well, we know this is important. So what you will see is a strategy that says, we know teaching is important, we know the quality of teachers is really important, so let's get really good teachers. And that's the strategy. And we'll get good teachers and we'll train them well and we'll hopefully assess at least some of them. What I would argue is that actually any school strategy is a change strategy. Okay, so when you're engaging with the school and they're talking about school improvement, what they are really talking about is a huge change strategy. To improve the school, you're talking about changing teaching and learning. Okay, the rest of it is really just window dressing. is to change teaching and learning. If you are talking about improving a child's learning, you are talking about changing their practices and their behaviours. To take a child from middle or lower and lift their performance, you are changing the level at which they learn, but you are changing the way they learn. Their practices at home and their practices within the school. Okay, whether or not that is their behaviours at home about how much homework they do or the type of homework they do, or in terms of particularly we start to talk about problem solving, communication, classic 21st century skills, it's changing the way they act and interact with others within the classroom. Okay? So even for students, improving their learning is a change process. It's changing the way they act. To improve teaching is to totally change what teachers do. When I say totally, it's not as if you're changing everything they do, but improving teaching is just about only a change process. It is about changing what they do day in, day out. Changing their teaching practices, the way they interact with students, the way that they assess students, the way that they develop their instruction based on that assessment. Okay? That is a huge change process, and it is incredibly difficult to do. Most organisations fail terribly at change. In education, we actually struggle because we don't acknowledge sufficiently that it is a change process. Many teachers have been teaching the classroom for 10 plus years, and the way they teach hasn't changed much during that 10 plus years for at least some of them. Trying to get them to change what they do every single day is incredibly difficult. So when we talk about engagement that leads to a productive change in teaching and learning, that is what that engagement is really about. Is trying to develop and reinforce changing practices of teachers and students within the school. So very, very crudely and quickly, there are 4 basic fundamentals that people need to change what they do. First of all, they have to believe in what they're doing. Okay? You don't have to spend long with a child to realise that they're really less likely to do something if they don't agree with it. My 2-year-old demonstrated that to me at 5 o'clock this morning. It is that belief, yes, okay, I see our school improvement strategy, I know why I'm doing this, I believe we are going down this path. Okay, I'll hop in. Right. Second is a lot of role modelling of behaviour, and I believe you talked this morning about whether or not that's just the role of the school principal. And my aim would be that parents and community groups can play a huge role in that. And that involved, because school principals are generally looking out for help when it comes to role modelling positive behaviour. So hopping into that space can actually be very productive. Third is a lot of capacity building, and fourth is reinforcement mechanisms. Okay? So the strategy starts with an understanding of this is teaching and learning in our school now. And the strategic path takes that situation to where we want teaching and learning to be. And that's basically the strategic path. Setting those objectives is getting buy-in across the community and within the school around that strategic path and why we're doing it, why this will be better for students, why this will be better for everyone. Okay? Role modelling can be teachers, school principals, definitely parents in the community. And I would argue it can also be some students, depending on the year level of the school. Capacity building, quite clear, a lot of professional learning. We can talk about that in a second. And then reinforcement systems. Okay? That is usually around system level practices around accountability and evaluation and the data collected by government that drives actions. But it is, again, a huge opportunity for family and community groups to reinforce positive change in the school. Okay? All the evidence on organisational change says if you don't have these 4 operating, it's very, very difficult. You might get away with 3 of the 4, but 2 of the 4 you won't. And if all of those 4 are not pointing in the same direction, so if you've got 1, 2 and 3 saying they're going to take teaching and learning here, but parents in the community are pushing for teaching and learning here, it means nothing will happen. Everything will fail. And that is huge power and responsibility. A little bit about what we mean by that teaching and learning and about changing teaching and learning. This is, very, very crudely, some basics of good teaching. Okay? It is understanding student progress. It is basically, this is classic formative assessment. Okay? Understanding student assessment, identifying where children are in their learning path, shaping instruction to that. Okay? This is also very close to what is good teacher development. Okay? If you look at what the best schools and best systems around the world and in Australia do to develop and change teaching practices, to go down the path of that strategy we just highlighted, it's analysing student learning and teachers' own instruction and the interaction between the two. Learning about new approaches, trialling those approaches, and then assessing the impact on students. It is that interaction between instruction and changing instruction and evaluating its impact on students. And working towards how do we get the best outcomes totally. Schools that have that built into their systems, built into their everyday practice, they are the great schools. They are the schools that are continually improving. And this is really what that improvement strategy is all about trying to do that. Because this is just something that is intuitively quite clear, but I think we need reminding of it, that gets back to that notion of strategy and school improvement is all about changing practice. Okay? And for those of you, this is a bit small. Okay, this is the percentage of people who actually change their practices, and it increases as we go along the left-hand side. And here we have reading, seeing, collaborating, and doing, and getting feedback between the two. Okay? Most of our understanding of education historically has been cut off there. Okay? That you read something, and perhaps if you see someone do it, then you can go and improve and change your practice and learn. Okay? The evidence is very clear that doesn't work. So now we get more into the collaboration and doing, which takes us back to that cycle I showed you. And then you get most people changing what they do. Okay? It's very difficult to get people to change what they do day in, day out. We're all creatures of habit. But this research is very, very clear. It's reinforced time and again. It's based on adult learning. It's very similar to the way for student learning. And if you look at the new teaching techniques, it is all based on that sort of premise. So, time that really long. This sort of understanding of how people learn and change practices, based with these sort of occurrences within schools, is what happens with the school improvement process. When schools can reach this sort of stage, it provides huge opportunities for community and family engagement when you go down that change process of reinforcement of change as well. And so, for me, that's where I'd like to finish up, and we can open up to questions or feedback as we go. Around that notion of the current context provides a huge amount of opportunities for parent and family and community engagement, because it is now a requirement of schools, both with the standards and with the school autonomy push. That opportunity is heightened, I believe, because of the paucity of research, of strong evidence in how to do this. School principals are looking for guidance in how to engage with parents in the community. They are looking for guidance in how to change their teachers' minds from the teachers who say, oh, I've got to deal with the parents, my God, they're going to yell at me today, to how do we actually engage with parents in a productive way to help them. They are looking for that sort of guidance. This actually creates huge opportunities for groups such as this, for parents groups, for community groups to engage with the school, and for other parts of our education system to lead that change. Because at the moment, I feel as if it's all up for grabs. And that is taking place in a time where there is a huge appetite for school improvement that we're really not getting wrong. So perhaps leave it there.